My pregnant stepsister called my father at midnight, saying she needed help immediately, and he drove 4 hours to reach her, while I was lying in a hospital bed that he did not know existed. My IV alarm went off at 2:47 a.m. and nobody came for 11 minutes. I know because I watched the clock on the wall, the way you watch things when you have nothing else to do and too much time to feel everything. 11 minutes is not a long time in most situations. In a hospital room at 3 a.m., alone, it is a very specific kind of forever. My name is Caleb. I was 22 years old that night. Appendix, emergency surgery, the kind of thing that happens fast and without your permission. 1 hour I was in my apartment thinking the pain was a bad meal. 3 hours later I was in a gown signing forms I barely read while a nurse with kind eyes told me I was going to be completely fine and to try not to worry. I didn't call my dad. That's the part I need to explain before any of the rest of this makes sense. My father remarried when I was 15. Her name is Donna. She has a daughter named Brooke, 2 years older than me, loud in the way that fills every room before she enters it. The kind of person who has always existed at a frequency my father simply responds to faster. I don't say that with bitterness anymore. I'm saying it because it's true, and because the truth is the only way this story means anything. Brooke got pregnant at 24. The father was not in the picture in any meaningful way. My dad took it hard, then rallied, the way he does, the way he has always done for her. He bought her a crib before she'd finished her first trimester. He drove to her apartment, 3 hours away, on a random Wednesday just to help her rearrange furniture. He talked about the baby at every dinner like it was already the most important thing that had ever happened to our family. I watched all of this and told myself it was fine. It was mostly fine. It was the kind of fine that lives just underneath your ribs and doesn't announce itself. I didn't call him from the hospital because I didn't want to be a burden. I want to sit with that sentence for a second because I think it deserves the space. I, a 22-year-old kid, going into emergency surgery alone at midnight, did not call my father because somewhere inside me, I had quietly learned that my emergencies were negotiable. I called my friend Pete instead. Pete drove 40 minutes, sat with me until they took me back, and fell asleep in the waiting room chair. He was there when I woke up. He brought me a terrible vending machine sandwich and said, "You look horrible," which was exactly the right thing to say. My dad called me at 11 a.m. the next morning, cheerful, normal, asking if I wanted to come for dinner that weekend. I said sure and almost left it there. Almost. Instead, I told him where I was. The silence on the phone had a texture to it. He said, "What do you mean you're in the hospital?" I told him, "Appendix, last night. Surgery. Fine now." He said, "Why didn't you call me?" And I told him the truth. I said, "Because Brooke called you at midnight last week about a panic attack and you drove 4 hours. I didn't think a surgery was enough." I didn't say it to hurt him. I said it because it came out before I could decide whether to swallow it, and once it was in the air between us, neither of us could pretend it wasn't there. He cried. My father, who I have seen cry maybe 4 times in my life, wept on the phone in a way that sounded like a man discovering something about himself he didn't know was true. He drove to the hospital anyway, showed up at 2 p.m. with bad coffee and red eyes, and sat next to my bed and didn't say very much. Neither did I, but he stayed until discharge. He carried my bag to the car. He drove me home. Sometimes love doesn't arrive on time. Sometimes it just arrives, and you have to decide what to do with it. I let him in. That was enough to start.